interesting because this incident. Vivi, what the fuck?
It's the other cats.
Jesus Christ. All right, everybody's out. Everybody's out. Go harass your brother. They're definitely going to throw down. Okay, so... Hello, mortals, monsters, and myth lovers alike. You're listening to Podcast Poseidon, where we explore how ancient myths become modern pop culture by reading Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson and the Olympians. This is Chapter 25, Cyclopses. I'm your co-host, on loan from the Hunters of Artemis, Darien and Smartt. Joining me is my co-host and brother, hailing from Cytheria Island, DJ.
It's pronounced Kythera.
I'm so sorry.
You should be. How's everybody doing today? Kythera is the home of Polyphemus, at least in the Assassin's Creed Odyssey game.
Yeah, I put an I in there that's not...
No. It's Kythera.
Cool. Well, hey, we'll swing by the camp store so we can find that I misplaced. Hey, DJ.
What's up?
Did I ever tell you about the time Tinkerbell offended the evil queen from Snow White by trying to set her up with Robin Hood?
What kind of fan fictions were you reading back in high school
No,
again?
For the record, I did not read fan fiction because I didn't know it was a thing in high school. No, I'm talking about Once Upon a Time. You know, Disney's fairy tale soap opera.
Was it produced by Disney?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
I
this
didn't
was
even know
Disney
that.
version. Yes.
I didn't know it was produced by Disney.
Yo, do you know how many times that song from Beauty and the Beast played during that thing, during Rumpelstiltskin and Belle getting together? A lot.
I imagine. Why are you bringing this up?
Well, I'm bringing it up because you know how I often go on tangents on the podcast talking about the fairy tale soap opera, and I'll talk about it for 5 minutes. And have you ever wanted to hear me go on like maybe 455 minutes longer than that with 4 other people, but you're not there?
Personally? No. But I'm certain our listeners would have loved to hear more.
And if you are one such, thank you, DJ, and if you are one such listener, you should check out Entering Storybook. Entering Storybook is a new Once Upon a Time podcast co-hosted by me and Fran from the Best Damn Camp Pod, and Robert from Into the Riordanverse and the Best Damn Meme page on Instagram, and Carter and Erica from Seaweed Win Podcast. Yes, it's a bunch of Riordanverse podcasters all talking about something that is not Percy Jackson. We'll see how long that lasts.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. We're going to go episode by episode, analyzing how we felt about it back when those shows were airing 10 years ago, what it's like now, and mostly giving Fran a platform to gush about how much she shipped Swan Queen. And I love her for that. I love this journey for her. And we already recorded the first 2 episodes. It's going to be super fun. If you're into that, come check us out. It's Entering Storybook. We'll be airing the first episode on Saturday, October 23rd. Check us out in your favorite podcatcher.
Nice. My favorite character in that was Rumpelstiltskin. He was really cool.
Mine too. On a more serious note, it's a new month, which means it's time for a new Patreon donation. Every month, we donate $1 for every patron we have over on Patreon to a charitable organization.
In observance of Indigenous Peoples Day, this month we are donating to Native Women's Wilderness. This organization was created to bring Native women together to share their stories.
Donations to NWW help build community through support groups, fund scholarships for outdoor leadership training for women, and provide scholarships for wilderness camping experience to school-age girls.
We currently have 6 patrons, so we'll be donating an additional $20 out of pocket, bringing our total donation to $26.
Thank you to our patrons for making this donation possible. And now, on to the show. All right, DJ, what do you remember about Cyclopses in Sea of Monsters? But I guess in this case, specifically, Polyphemus.
I remember him being partially to like 90% blind because, I mean, obviously this is after the Odyssey with Odysseus. So he has already been stabbed by nobody. And we also had Tyson. Percy's brother, technically speaking. And Tyson's great. I love Tyson. Polyphemus, he was trying to marry Grover,
who disguised himself as a lady Cyclops.
Yep. He disguised himself as a lady Cyclops because he had a veil in front of his face and a wedding dress because that's where he hid to inform Percy, hey, I'm in trouble.
Come get me. Come get me.
Come
Mom,
get me.
Mom, come pick me up.
Mom, Percy, I need help, please. And so he also had the golden fleece.
He did have the golden fleece,
which is why Grover was being chased by him.
Which is why, every satyr who is, because Grover is out searching for Pan, so he's tracking nature, like big nature magic, which the golden fleece has a lot of
immense nature magic, and so it attracts so many satyrs. And Polyphemus is like, haha, yeah, I'm gonna eat them. You.
He eats
and
sheep
so,
and goats.
Yeah, and so Polyphemus believed he was a lady Cyclops, also because to hide the goat smell. Is like, no, it's just perfume.
Goat perfume. Do you like it? Which is very much as if like you were dating a chick because man, she just smells like bacon. Because she was bacon perfume.
Yeah, that's essentially what that is. But yeah, I wouldn't be super into that.
That's
if I'm being
wild.
Honest.
That's wild. I like maybe it's like, oh man, yeah, my partner they always smell like bacon because I don't know, maybe they work in a kitchen and they work with bacon a lot. Yeah. I think that's different than being like, yeah, my partner smells like bacon because they wear bacon scented perfume.
She got it I got it for her as a gag, but now she like really likes it and just doesn't take it off.
and I think she's trying to get back at me for the gag.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love her all the more for it.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But yeah, that's what I remember of Polyphemus and that. Well, I guess Annabeth also does like the whole nobody thing, and ends up getting him off a cliff, and he gets stabbed. Does he live?
Yes.
Polyphemus is the only monster to come in contact with Percy, Annabeth, and Grover to live.
He is. Yes, he lives. He hits the boat, and he sinks the boat, and he thinks he's defeated them.
Yeah.
But the hippocampi show up.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure. That sounds real.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's because the Rainbow the hippocampi, Tyson's best friend in the whole wide world, comes out.
The only person Tyson can legitimately rely on is Rainbow the hippocampi. I stand by what I said. At
least in that book. And then later, Tyson absolutely can rely on Percy.
Well, yes. Yes, this is true. This is true. So, in Sea of Monsters specifically, it says that like Cyclopses are the children of gods and nymphs.
Yeah.
Specifically, one god.
Poseidon.
So we know Tyson is Poseidon's son, which makes him Percy's half-brother. So is Polyphemus, who specifically in lore was the son of Poseidon and the nymph Theusa.
Probably.
And that's all you need to know about that.
Yeah.
Well, so the Poseidon thing is actually really important, right? Because it's directly the reason why Odysseus has such a shitty fucking time.
Oh, yeah. Because he fucks with Polyphemus and Poseidon's like, that was my kid. Mm-hmm. Were you really proud of that one?
Right?
Were you really proud of that one?
Well, Odysseus has been a real dick.
Yeah.
Like a real dick.
Yeah. But also, Polyphemus was about to eat all his men.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a give and take here.
Mm-hmm. So back and forth. So, like, yeah, let's talk a little about that. Like, I think this is probably one of the most well-known stories of the Odyssey. Like, you see it. It's something that I actually like.
Nobody.
The nobody. This is specifically the tale that really highlights like Odysseus is clever. Because oftentimes his cleverness just happens like a god showed up and gave him good advice, or he didn't happen to go on the party that got eaten by the giants.
Yeah.
This is when we see a lot, and it's mostly because the Odysseus being clever. It is fun. It's fun to watch your protagonist be clever. Yeah, fight scenes are great. But look, Dormammu, I've come to bargain, is one of the best in the Marvel universe.
I love Doctor Strange. It was such a fun movie. Doctor Strange and Far From Home are my favorite Marvel movies because of the visuals.
Oh, you just like these trippy Jack Kirby visuals.
I am so excited for No Way Home.
It's gonna be. Did you see that thing on Instagram I sent you?
I haven't opened Instagram in a while. I see you send me messages, and I'm like, all right.
Oh, you should see the one I sent you. You will be like, yes, I want this to be true so bad.
I'm so excited for No Way Home.
But the Odyssey. So we'll do a quick rundown of the Odyssey story. So they end up on an island. Another island. All right. This is interesting because this is one of like Odysseus's earliest adventures on his journey home from Troy, but it doesn't occur until like well over halfway through the Odyssey. You're into book 9. Yeah. Because at this point, Odysseus is telling the story of what he's been to to some king who he's actually found refuge in this guy's kingdom for a period of time. We'll get into more specific details of that, but like this is a flashback sequence. This is an extended flashback sequence. But they end up on the island, right? And they're like, all right, well, we see some smoke. Obviously, people live here. Let's go see them. Let's go see if they're gonna like maybe we'll if they'll like give us hospitality. They fear the gods. They will give us hospitality. We are their guests. They'll give us supplies. So they go. Odysseus and some of his men get to Polyphemus' cave. He's not home, but he's got like a shit ton of cheese.
Hell yeah.
Right? Goat cheese, sheep cheese, probably. And his men are like, let's take the cheese and leave. And Odysseus is like, no. He might just give us some cheese and supplies. We're not going to steal his cheese. We'll stay here. So they stay.
Should have taken the cheese and leave.
Should have taken the cheese and leave. So well, here's what they do. They stay. They start a fire. They do a sacrifice to the gods, as you do. They do eat some of the cheese while they're there waiting. Polyphemus shows up with all of his sheep and his rams. He's been herding. Brings them in. Does his chores. Notices them there. And there's like, who are you and why are you in my house? And Odysseus goes on this long thing. It's like, oh, we are travelers from Troy. We are Greek. We are here. If you fear Zeus, you will give us hospitality. And Polyphemus is like, yeah, we don't fear the gods here. We don't care what Zeus is doing on Olympus. Like, whatever. If I spare you, it's because of my kindness in my heart, not because of the gods. Hey, where's your ship at? Where's your ship at? Odysseus is like, lies. We were shipwrecked. We are the last of the crew. Don't worry about it. And then Polyphemus is like, rat. And then immediately bashes in the skull of two of his men, and then he just eats them raw. Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like something he'd do. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, all right, catch you later. And he goes to sleep. And Odysseus is like, I would have stabbed him. And his retelling of the story. But the door, you see, was blocked by a giant boulder that we could not move. So we didn't stab him. Instead, they all got together and somehow had a giant, like a mast of a ship. I'm not clear on how they got that.
Who knows?
They sharpen it.
Yeah.
The next day, Polyphemus wakes up, eats 2 more men, goes to tend the sheep, comes back, eats 2 more men.
He's hungry.
He's hungry. And then Odysseus, who happened to have had the presence of mind, like, I'm going to bring some of this nice wine we got. Before they went off into, like, the cave. They brought some wine. Yeah. So he gives them, you want some wine? Some good wine, too. So Polyphemus does. And then he very promptly gets super sloshed on wine. And Odysseus is like, hey, man, I will give you my name if you give me the hospitality that I am owed. My name is, in this translation, I'm referencing oh my god, I've said it 1,000 times. In Emily Wilson's translation of the Odyssey, he says his name is No Man.
No Man.
Nah, yeah. And Polyphemus is like, oh, No Man, yeah, thank you so much for your name and your wine as hospitality. I'll eat you last. Then he passes out drunk.
Understandable.
And then they stab him in the eye.
Hell yeah.
They set the thing on fire and they stab him in the eye. They blind him. He's raging, but now he can't find Odysseus or any of his men. So then Odysseus ties all of his men to the bottom of the sheep. And the next morning, when they let out, Polyphemus is like, well, I still got to take care of my damn sheep. Opens the thing to get them out. Like, he's like trying to make sure that they aren't trying to sneak out, but he can't feel them. He's expecting to like be around the sheep or on top of the sheep. He doesn't check underneath.
Yeah. So
Odysseus is like on the last ram. He's like holding on. The ram's going really slow. And I didn't realize like how much of that interaction is actually in Sea of Monsters. Because there's literally a scene where like one of the rams is going slow, and Polyphemus is like, "Why are you going slow, little buddy? You're getting a little chubby." Literally happens in the Odyssey. Yeah. Except Polyphemus is like, "Oh, why are you so slow, ram? You're usually the first to leave." Like, "Oh, are you sad because of my eyes been blinded? That's so sweet. Thank you. You're mourning with me.
Thank you so much."
So they all get out. Goes down. Oh, right, I forgot. So he screws the I forgot that the how No Man is important.
Yeah.
Right, he gets stabbed. He comes out screaming. The other Cyclopses on the island roll up like, dude, what happened?
Like, are you right? It was No Man.
Yeah. It's very specifically, I'm gonna reference it, because this is like one of the things that Odysseus considered like so clever for doing.
Because, I mean, it is pretty clever.
Yes, it is. It is very clever. So he's screaming. Other Cyclopses come up and they're like, oh, hey, are you okay? We heard you screaming. What's up? Is someone trying to kill you? Is someone stealing your herds or trying to kill you by some trick or force? Strong Polyphemus from inside replied, my friends, No Man is killing me by tricks, not force. Their wards flew back to him. If no one hurts you, you are all alone. Great Zeus has made you sick. No help from that. Pray to your father, mighty Lord Poseidon. So, like, that's where, like, the cleverness comes in, because, you know, he's gonna scream when we stab him. The other Cyclopses are gonna come. We gotta get them to think that nothing's wrong. Or that no one else is there.
Yeah.
So they think he's like, oh, you're sick, you've been hurt because Zeus has done. So it's interesting. Polyphemus is like, we don't care about the gods. Like, what? That's clearly not true.
No, yeah.
Because the other Cyclopses are very quickly like,
Polyphemus is just a dick.
Yeah, literally is a dick. Like, that's the thing. So then, they have Odysseus and escape. They take the sheep. They go on the ship. They're sailing off.
Well, they need food.
They need food. Exactly. They need food. And this is where Odysseus really fucks up. So they're going off the sailing way, and he shouts back at the Cyclops, "Hey, you Cyclops idiot! The crew trapped in your cave did not belong to some poor weakling. Well, you had it coming. You had no shame at eating your own guests, so Zeus and other gods have paid you back." And he's taunting him, and his men are like, "Hey, please stop. Hey, please don't do that. Please don't do that. He's throwing rocks." And Odysseus is like, "Nah," and that's when he's like, "If any mortal asks you how your eye was mutilated and made blind, say that Odysseus, the city sacker, Laertes' son, who lives in Ithaca, destroyed your sight." To which Polyphemus groans, "The prophecy! It has come true at last!" Because apparently there was some prophecy that said, this soothsayer said that he told me that by Odysseus' hands would make me lose my sight. I always thought someone tall and handsome, strong and brave would come to me, but now this weakling, this little nobody has blinded me. By wine he got the best of me. Come on, Odysseus, let me give you your gifts. And I ask Poseidon's help to get you home. I am his son, and he is proud to be my father. He will hear me if he wants, though no one else, not God or man, could do it. And then he, taunts him again. If only I could steal your life from you, I'd send you to Hades. And that's when Polyphemus prays to Poseidon, is like, grant that Odysseus, the city sacker, will never go home. Or if he's fated to see his family, then let him get there late and with no honor, in pain and lacking ships, having caused the death of all of his men, and let him find more trouble in his own house.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because what's weird is that in Greek mythology, the Cyclopses are favored by Zeus. They make his lightning bolts.
Yeah.
Like, of all of the children of Gaia, like the Titans, the Giants, the 100-handed ones, they all get banished.
Yep.
The Cyclopses get to hang out on that island that Zeus gave him, what it is called Assassin's Creed?
Cythera.
Cythera. Thank you. I don't think it has a name in the Odyssey. It's just the island of the Cyclopses.
Yeah.
And so Polyphemus, jeering at Zeus and not giving his guests hospitality, which is a big fucking deal. We talked about it in the September episode of Remyth in Ponderland. The idea of hospitality is very important, and Zeus is a god of hospitality. Check it out for our $10 plus patrons. You get a special Remyth episode in which you discuss other properties that have retellings.
It's a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed recording that episode.
Yeah, check it out. So it's interesting that Odysseus is, for everything he does to Polyphemus, he's very much in the right to do so. I mean, yeah, a monster eating his men. They'll encounter monsters. It's the Circe is hospitable.
Yeah.
Calypso is actually hospitable.
Yeah.
She turns them into pigs. But
no, that was Circe.
That was Circe. Yeah, sorry. Circe turns them into pigs, but later on it's fine.
Yeah.
They have Polyphemus doesn't offer the hospitality and thus gets everything he deserves, but when Odysseus shows hubris, which is greatly frowned upon. You can be good at what you do, but they'll boast about it like a dick. You're not Hercules.
You're an asshole about it.
That's when things really break bad for him. That's when he asks Poseidon to never let him get home, and if he does, make things worse. And I'd like to think that Poseidon was like, all right, I'll just never let him get home. And Zeus is like, whoa. Dude didn't have hospitality though, so we got to break even.
Yeah.
We'll do the second part.
Second one, he's gonna get home late, and all of his guys are just gonna be dead. It's gonna be him.
Yeah. But he's still got to get home because Polyphemus didn't have hospitality.
Polyphemus was a dick, so we gotta give some leeway.
Yeah. I want to acknowledge that I pronounce every syllable in Polyphemus, and you just say it so smooth. Yeah. So smooth.
Yeah.
It's so good. I cannot pronounce it like that. Side note, his name, Polyphemus' name, means the one who talks a lot, the man of many words, or much spoken, or famous, abounding in songs and legends.
So he's a bard?
Wouldn't that be interesting? He doesn't have a lot of bardic talent.
No.
In this story, but would you like to hear about his sympathetic villain prequel?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
What is it?
So, 3 centuries after we believe the Odyssey was composed, this poet by the name of Philoxenus wrote a poem that only fragments. We only have like kind of a couple things, and most of what we know is actually a parody of this poem that was written later. It was either called Cyclops or Galatea.
Mm-hmm.
Galatea being the name of Polyphemus' sea nymph love interest.
Understandable.
And the circumstances of this poem is fascinating because we don't know exactly when it was written, but scholars are like, okay, it was definitely before 388 BCE, because that's when this other poem that was parody of this one was written. So it ought to be before. But it was definitely after
the Odyssey.
Yes. But actually after 406 BCE, because that's when Dionysius I became the tyrant of Syracuse, which was where the poet lived, and he was a court poet for Dionysus, and they think that maybe he might have had a thing for this musician whose name was Galateus, but so did the Dionysius, and so he threw him in jail.
All right.
Yeah, maybe.
Interesting.
So that's a thing. And now it's interesting that you say that he was a bard, our good Cyclops friend, because in these later versions of the story, because this first one is the poem Cyclops is the first one that believed to be the first one that gave him a love interest.
Yeah.
Later Hellenistic poets would just run with that idea, and song became really important.
Well, what his name means, the many-worded, or the song, or whatever.
Yeah,
the fuck you said.
Abounds, yeah.
Yeah.
Literally when so Polyphemus is into Galatea, but she's not vibing on him. Usually he's he's ugly, he's a Cyclops, whatever. I like this handsome son of Pan who's a herdsman.
Yeah.
But it's important to know that in these versions of the story, we're not dealing with the violent brute who lives in a cave. Polyphemus is a lot more like Odysseus. He gets people and their weaknesses and has literary criticism.
Yeah.
It's very much sympathetic villain backstory a la Disney style. 2,000 years before we got the influx.
It's pretty great.
It is pretty great. Anyway, so music is a big deal. He plays in some versions, Polyphemus plays music to overcome his love sickness. In others, it's stated Galatea loved the other herdsman more because he was just a better musician, and it's just that was his artistry. The story usually ends tragically. Polyphemus finds Galatea and her lover together under some rocks, and he crushes the lover to death under a boulder.
And so he becomes a herder.
And so the lover Odysseus, his blood forms a stream beneath the rock, and Galatea turned it into a river. Classic. But there are some things that suggest that maybe some versions of the story actually end happy for our Cyclops friend, I guess. Is he in this moment? Is he our friend?
No.
Yeah. No. There's a 1st century art from Pompeii that depicts Polyphemus seated on a rock, holding out his hand to receive a love letter from Galatea that is being delivered by Winged Cupid riding a dolphin.
That's pretty great.
Why does Winged Cupid need to ride a dolphin? I don't know, but it's probably because he's an extra bitch just like his mama.
Oh yeah, 100% Eros was just a fucking extra son of a bitch.
So that's
an interesting one.
That was the unexpected sympathetic villain backstory that Polyphemus had that I had no idea.
That's pretty great, honestly.
Right. So, now we get to the part where we talk about modern things. And as we were discussing beforehand, it seems that you and I took very different approaches to this.
Yeah.
I, inspired by the sympathetic villain remix and also by the presence of Tyson, our one cool Cyclops friend.
Yeah.
I dove into monster friend theme.
Yeah, and I figured all right, we'll just talk about Cyclopses in general. things, because Cyclops are pretty
Cyclops.
often, we see them pretty frequently.
That's honestly, like, that's why it's, like, straight away from, you see them all the time, but I, like, have never encountered a Cyclops take that I thought was, like, how interesting. Except for, like, Tyson.
Oh, that's fair.
But, DJ, you did research. I would please share some of your Cyclopses with us.
So the main one is the one that I'm from, Assassin's Creed Odyssey with Kythera.
Mm-hmm.
Polyphemus himself actually does show up.
Not surprising.
You go through and to get to him, you have to get an ability to be able to knock down a rocks that's just like fallen, and then you fight him, and you can actually get to that area before, but you can't fight him until you get this ability.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool because, like, you can show up there and you hear thundering, like, pounding on walls and just shit like that, and like roars coming from within there, and you're like, oh, weird, whatever. And so you just continue on your way until you get to him, and obviously Cyclops eye is the weakness, and you got to shoot at it with arrows. It's a bitch of a fight.
I can imagine.
If you're like under level, I guess, like, Polyphemus is not, like, he's whatever, like, there's another Cyclops that you can get to right out the gate.
Ooh,
he's a bitch of a fight, because if you're not like over leveled a bit, you won't kill him. It sucks. Those are the two Cyclops in those, and, like, it's like, they're fun. There was a Cyclops in Dragon's Dogma, which I've been playing, and that game is fucking awesome. It's whole, like, it's just an action RPG, but its, like, main mechanic that I think is really cool is you can climb your enemies. So, like, an enemy is like the towering size of a building. You can get on him and just start slashing away and climb up it. And the Cyclops shows up, so you can get on him and start slashing at his eye. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, I've been talking for a bit. Why don't we just go back and forth for a bit?
Oh, there's a Cyclops in Hercules, the Disney movie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring
up.
But I figured we were just going to go back and forth.
No, I just suddenly like, there's that one.
There's that one.
He's an image.
Yeah,
he's a sight.
Couldn't quite understand the anatomy of him, if I'm being real with you.
He's supposed to be a Titan, right?
I guess.
Because they're all
they're all
the Titans.
It's supposed to be Titan. I guess. I feel like that's just like one of those weird throwaway things we saw in that movie.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it should be a Cyclops, but it's like, oh, it doesn't make sense. And also, like, as I said earlier, of all the pre-Olympian creatures to get imprisoned, Cyclopses were not one of them.
No.
Which is why I thought it was interesting. So there's one thing in the Riordanverse that Cyclopses that can do that I could not find any reference to in Greek mythology. I don't know if this is something I just couldn't track down, or if it's like something Rick came up with whole cloth as plot. Cyclopses can mimic voices.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Mimic voices that they've never even heard before. Because we get in Sea of Monsters, Annabeth doesn't like Tyson. She doesn't like him. She's really uncomfortable around him.
We find out why later.
We find out it's because when she was 7, on the run, trying to get to Camp Half-Blood with, like, Talia and Luke and Grover, they got caught in a Cyclops' lair. And they all got separated, and the Cyclops was mimicking their voices. Like, Talia thought she was going to go save Luke. Luke thought he was going after Annabeth. Annabeth thought she was chasing Talia. All around. And then, so everyone gets captured except for, like, little 7-year-old Annabeth. She managed to creep in, and she finds, like, all of her friends are, like, tied up, strung up, like, about to be eaten for dinner. And she's sneaking, and the Cyclops turns around and then starts speaking to her in her father's voice.
That was weird.
Which is the part I think is weird, because, like, I get him being able to mimic the voices of people he heard. The dad's voice is always one that I thought was weird.
That means that there's, like, psychic stuff.
There's psychic stuff going on. Like, but it was weird, because we see Tyson pull that trick later when he's, like, they're trying to hear, like, they're on Princess Andromeda, and, like, Luke is talking evil plans. So Tyson can hear them better, so he's letting him know what he's hearing. He's mimicking the voices while doing so, and it freaks Annabeth out. Anyway, Annabeth stabs the Cyclops and is able to, like, get Talia free, and she saves the day because she's the daughter of Zeus. But because of that delay, all the forces of the underworld that were after them caught up to them. Yeah. And so Talia had to fight them off as they reached Camp Half-Blood, because otherwise they weren't going to get to the big house, and that's how Talia dies and Zeus turns her into a tree. It's a whole thing.
Yep, it is a whole thing. It's pretty great.
So yeah, so we get this thing where, like, it's weird, because Cyclopses are monsters.
Yep.
They're from Tartarus.
Yes.
When they die, they turn to dust. They go back to Tartarus where they reform. But Tyson is a baby Cyclops who was born very recently and abandoned in New York City.
Yep.
So, like, we have this thing, and we know that, like, the Cyclopses make Zeus's weapons. And at the end of Sea of Monsters, Tyson is invited by Poseidon to go work in the forges down there with the other Cyclopses. And he's like, it's a great internship. Good for you, buddy. You earned it. I'm so proud of you. Have fun, man. But it's this weird thing that is not properly addressed, I feel like. Monsters are bad.
Yes.
But Tyson's not.
Yep.
So why don't other monsters get that opportunity? Because we get later on, we get Ella the Harpy, who's the only nice harpy. And then we get in Trial of Apollo, Sarah, with 5 S's. Yeah. The snake
I think
lady.
it's all about circumstances and what those monsters have been through and what they've been doing, right? We see Tyson, as you said, he's a baby Cyclops. The circumstances that he's been through, he's been bullied his whole life. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like being bullied. And so, and like, who knows? Like, if a human didn't find this fucking child and be like, oh, well, let's get you some help and put him into a school.
Where he met Percy.
Like, had he just been in the sewers, been bullied all of his life, he probably would become a dick.
That's an interesting thing. So again, it implies that, like, the monsters are like this because the system failed them.
I mean, it's also just like, I don't know if... Because, I mean, obviously not every Cyclops is bad since they're all working in a forge with Poseidon and the gods, and Hephaestus likes Cyclopses.
Yeah, they're useful.
They're useful. He likes them.
That's why Zeus likes Cyclopses, because they're useful.
Yeah, and it's like, they're just like, whatever. It's like, so clearly they're not all inherently bad. Polyphemus has just had, like, bad experiences and was also just a dick to start.
Yeah, which is because Polyphemus is living on the island where the Cyclopses were given to live by Zeus.
Yeah.
So his whole thing is, like sometimes, and that kind of, when you know that, it could be more commentary on, like, you know, people have, like, sometimes you have trauma and it can turn you this way, but sometimes people are just dicks, and this is true. I just feel like it's not a theme that's well explored.
Yeah.
In the books, and I think that's pretty common for when you have stories where it's, like, the one nice monster. It's not explored how, like, well, if this person, if they have the opportunity to, like, be more than their circumstances, grow and find hope and fight for good, why are we not, like, the heroes very rarely ever consider, could we offer that to others?
I mean, we also do see that with I'm going a little ahead, Bob the Titan and Mrs. O'Leary. We see that. Like, sure, Bob got his memories erased.
Yeah, Bob got his memories erased.
He got his memories, but then he remembered his memories and was like, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
That guy sucked.
Right.
I like Bob way fucking more.
Yeah, and because he had the opportunity.
Yeah. And so it's like, I mean, yeah, if he never got his mind erased, then he would have just been, like, continued to have been...
That's that story from the demigod thing I was telling you about earlier.
That's what it was?
That's what happens in it. That's
okay.
what it's...
Because that's why I was like, because I just literally went through all of these, and I'm like, when did this happen again?
Yeah, it's wild. It's so... We will talk about it later, but it's so wild that, like, this major character in the series is, like, if you didn't read this, like, one anthology book that came out right in between, like, the penultimate and the final book of the first series, you don't know who this person is.
Yeah. Like, when I first read through, I'm like, yeah, it's just a thing that happened.
I definitely, when I first read through it, thought, like, yeah, this happened in Last Olympian, sure.
Yeah, I was like, I believe it. There's a lot that happened in that book. I might have just fucking somehow missed it. Although I don't remember them going to the underworld.
yeah, right. Yeah, so I just think it's one of those things where I like the commentary of you're not born evil.
Yeah.
Which essentially, but in the Percy Jackson series, monsters are.
I think it depends on the circumstances of your birth.
Right. It's like Cyclops is there from Tartarus, but, like, so what happens to Tyson?
Clearly
what if Tyson died in battle?
Clearly not all Cyclops are from Tartarus, though.
Like, is it the first time they were killed, they went to the underworld through the proper channels and they just got sent to Tartarus, or is it like, and then they come back and that's why they dust? So if Tyson is stabbed, would he dust, or would they have a body to bury?
I think Tyson... I'm pretty sure they dust.
But he was born.
Yeah, and so was, like, a bunch of other monsters. They were all born.
But, like, the Gorgons aren't, like, born again. They're just, like, reformed from Tartarus.
Well, yeah. Well, like, that's the thing, right? Is that it's not like... Tartarus doesn't specifically birth monsters. I mean, he has.
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. He... But, like... When a monster dies and gets dusted, I don't think that it's a birthing. I think it's just a reforming of monsters. That's what everybody calls it.
Right, okay, they're
reforming. That's not a birth.
But Tyson was born.
Tyson was born, yeah, and so was probably like a bunch of other people, not from specifically Tartarus, but from like a normal circumstance from another god.
Yeah.
And a nymph or whatever, and like they get dusted, and then it's like, oh, well.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
being
okay,
dusted
Tyson
sucks.
was born,
so maybe if Tyson had died before like he met Percy and came back, he would have been evil because he's like, oh, this is Tartarus, this sucks. Then come back.
So we're saying it's the system and it is the cycle that constantly creates people in pain and trauma lashing out the world because they've experienced pain, and we need to change the system.
Yeah, but it's the gods.
Oh, it is the gods.
It's the gods, and it's specifically like primordial gods, right? Gaia, Tartarus. Fucking Brunos.
There's got to be a better way to do this. I think we've definitely veered into like lore territory, so we should probably leave this for Owen and Through the Mist to get back to. Let's get into my list. So I have characters who are very much like kind of like monster friend, quote unquote, because that's the best way I could think of describing it, where it's like every one of this race is a monster, but here's the exception. Yeah. Right? Like, and not, this is different than you think the race is monster, but then you find out that they're just creatures acting on instinct, or they just look scary. Not the dragons from How to Train Your Dragon, or the creatures from Animorphs. Yeah.
It's the orcs from Lord of the Rings with Ratbag as your exception. You've never met Ratbag. He was in the shadow of.
There it is. I was like, is this a video game thing?
Yeah.
I've watched the extended editions.
Yeah. Ratbag comes around like this is like, I think before Lord of the Rings is supposed to, and like the Hobbit events.
I think so. Yeah.
And so like Ratbag comes around, and Ratbag helps you. Is an inside agent. You help Ratbag climb the ranks of generalship, and he's like, no, I'll give you fucking information that you want. Love Ratbag. He's great.
So yes, kind of like that. Here we are back at Supernatural.
Yep.
There was this is like a little pushing it. There was like a whole race of Fae. Like the monsters in Supernatural tend to be like always chaotic evil, especially the Fae.
Mm-hmm. But there's like the Fae are just fucking chaotic entities.
Oh yes, they are. But there was this one race of Fae that were basically like children's imaginary friends who would like help kids and guide them along, and then when the kid got too old to see them, they'd go to another child. And I thought like, okay, that's worth mentioning. But the specific one that I had from Supernatural was this one episode where there was like a serial killer killing the people and taking their organs. And they're very much like, oh, it's a ghoul. Because that's what ghouls do. We've met ghouls in the past. Ghouls killed the brother's half-brother and his whole family. It's fucked up. And then the angels resurrected him so Michael could possess him. This show, I tell you what. So we do the thing, we do the hunt. Dean finds out, he notices like it's all dudes getting killed. He's like, okay, so maybe it's a woman, maybe some sort of temptress or whatever. Okay, we find out it's a ghoul she works as a nurse, and they need to eat human organs. They can't eat anything else. Yeah. She usually steals organs from the morgue. Her child was sick and needed fresh organs, or they weren't going to get better.
Okay.
So she was like, luring out men by being alone in a park at nighttime and killing the men who attacked her. And that's so she. And I'm like, kind of like, okay, yeah, no, you had to do what you had to do. I'm not saying anything, but yes. So there you have like, okay, the one good. Like, her motives. Yeah. Dean lets her go. And I always liked that, and I thought it was cool. But, of course, they couldn't just end the episode there. Sam finds out what happens, and then he goes and kills the mom because she's a monster, and they all have to be killed, Dean. In front of her son.
That's pretty rough.
Who he lets live. And is like, the son's like, and the son, who will now definitely grow up and
be resentful.
Definitely gonna kill a bunch of humans. Definitely gonna, like, her mom was trying to raise her child to be, like, peaceful and just try to exist in this world that's not built for them. So that's
pretty rough.
Yeah, I was like, I really liked that episode until the end, and I was like, oh god, fucking damn it, Supernatural, you just couldn't resist.
Yeah, it seems like Supernatural's got its issues.
Yeah, not very good at that aspect of anything really. Danny Phantom. So yeah,
talk about the Box Ghost.
Box Ghost is pretty great. Specifically, there's an episode wherein the ghost of the Dairy King, like, frees, like, Danny gets trapped and he frees him, and he's like, hey, not all ghosts are evil. A lot of us just want to be left alone. Because Danny's like, all ghosts are bad, all ghosts are terrible, because
because I mean the ghosts he's encountered have been fucking tormenting his life just this whole time. So I don't blame him for believing that.
But I think that episode's important to highlight, like, dude, no, you need to see beyond. Like, you can't view... Yes, you are dealing with this because you're a superhero and these are your villains, but you can't view everyone as a villain just because... Batman can't go around punching all birthday clowns just because the Joker.
Yeah.
I think... Oh! Hey, here's from the bonus episode. Flame Princess for Adventure Time.
Yeah.
Apparently all of Flame citizens are evil.
Well, not all of them. There are some lesser evil.
Lesser evil. Is Flame Princess lesser evil, or is she the exception?
No, she's lesser evil.
Oh, cool.
Like, that's the thing, right? It's just like...
So not Flame Princess, and I remember her off
well,
the
it's
list.
just like... She is definitely influenced by Finn, so she is no longer evil. But that was because she was influenced by Finn. Not because she just wanted to be good. The Flame King himself was like, dude, she's evil. This is the Flame King. They're like, no, that my daughter's fucking evil.
but okay, so like earlier, it's like, oh, she was influenced by Finn. She doesn't want to be good or anything. She just, because she was influenced by Finn is why she's not true evil. But like you were saying earlier, that's Tyson. He was influenced by Percy. And also we met Tyson. He's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
That may have been like crushed out of him in time if he hadn't had the opportunity to get out of like the system. But you know, yeah. Speaking of Finn, the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Like that's a big one where you have, you know, FN 2187.
Yeah.
It's the defector stormtrooper who frees Poe Dameron and runs off and joins the rebels and mentions the fact that most stormtroopers were child soldiers kidnapped when they were probably like toddlers.
Yeah, I mean, we do see like other stormtroopers though.
Yeah, I was gonna say
other defective stormtroopers that like got off the beaten path in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, yes, yeah, I was gonna that's where it's in. So it's like, but it's like weird that it's like for the rest of Force Awakens and then also Last Jedi, we don't talk about that, and then all the heroes, including Finn, are just super fine with gunning down stormtroopers.
I feel like Finn just was like a squandered character a little bit.
So they all were. I'm gonna say they all were. Yeah. So I got a lot of opinions. But yeah, that's one element where you're like, that's where I was saying earlier, it's like, here we have a character who proves that not every one of their group is evil, is villainous. Why do we not take that and supplant some more? And then you're right, they do in Rise of Skywalker, you meet the other like group of stormtroopers who defected, and it's like, oh, you heard the call of the Force, but also we're not really gonna address this, and it just happened. Like we happened to shove it in there, but we didn't really.
It was the call of the Force that joke.
Kind of, yeah. We heard. I feel
like that's a weird cop out.
I mean, it's Star Wars, and I think Finn also like has a moment where he's like,
the Force we clearly see also has just a bad side.
It's called the dark side of the Force. Like it's not.
It's not specifically.
It's not
light.
benevolent.
The Force is not good or evil. It's a thing.
It's an energy that surrounds us, that penetrates us.
Yeah, it's a thing, and it's not inherently good or inherently evil. It's how people determine how they want to use it. Essentially.
Yes. Yeah. So it's weird, but that was like another thing where it's like, I put on this as I said because it's like not like. Finn is basically your monster friend as a stormtrooper. Because he's a stormtrooper, but now we're BFF because Finn is great. Because Finn is great and he deserved more. They all did.
Yeah, 100%. Every character in that show, I believe, deserved way more.
It was so bad. Ridiculous. Rose Tico deserved so much more.
There was a lot.
But so they try to like you mentioned, like we talked about, like the stormtroopers, and they're not all bad, like everyone. But it's like it's such a squandered plotline, I think, in a lot of these things. Like I would like, I wish we could see more in like the Riordanverse of like more of that. Like these creatures exist here too. Like the monsters exist here too. Like the Cyclopses, like they all have opportunities. Like, wouldn't it be cool to have seen more monsters fight with the demigods? Like, all in the last, like, Olympian, all these final battles, like, the monsters always side with the villains.
I mean, we do
except for, like, one or two.
100 armed ones do join the fight.
Yeah, though, the last one.
Gaia.
Yeah, they do. But, like, yeah, Gaia wronged them.
Yeah.
Why don't we have, like, why can't we see anybody, like, throwing their lot in with the demigods? Like,
was it Gaia? No, that was...
he was in the Titans.
He was in the Titans,
yeah. So, it just... I was looking and I was trying to find an example that I liked of I think a show that did that well.
I think the reason that a lot of monsters sided with the Titans and Gaia is because the Titans and Gaia directly, essentially, wanted the downfall of humans, and at this point, monsters do too.
Yeah, and that's why it's not okay. It's like, yeah, it's weird because it's like having like one or two outliers doesn't show that people can be good or evil regardless of their upbringing. You choose that. It shows that this race is evil and these two are the exceptions.
Yeah.
And that's a bummer. So I was trying to find an example of like when you have the outlier who is the ally, who is good, who wants to be more than like their culture's corruption, and is able to extend that to the rest of their people. And I could only find one example where I thought that was done very, very clearly.
How to Train Your Dragon.
No, because How to Train Your Dragon falls under the dragons were never monstrous. They were just creatures that were misunderstood by the Vikings.
That's fair.
Minus Thorax from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. The changeling.
I have not seen. I don't remember them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I didn't see anything past season 3, essentially.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I watched almost all of it. So
season 3, then the Equestria Girl movies, and then I started on. No, I did watch season 4. Wait. I watched a bit of season 4, not in the entirety. I have no idea where the fuck it's at anymore.
So did you get to the changelings?
No. I mean, I knew of the changelings.
Right, you got to the crystal.
Yeah, I knew of the changelings.
Empire.
Yeah.
So Thorax is just a little change. Like they look like the changelings. Look up a picture. They look the same. They look like they're not very. The changelings all look the same because they're a horde. They're a horde villain.
Yep.
But after you have Queen Chrysalis is like defeated and banished away, there's this one changeling who's like, I don't want to hang out because they feed off of love, and so they're parasitic, and everybody hates them. But Thorax is like, but they can also shapeshift because they're changelings. So he shapeshifts, and he actually befriends Spike. And Spike finds out he's a changeling, but they're friends, and it's cool. And then everybody else finds out it's a whole thing back and forth, like, changelings can't be good. And Queen Chrysalis is trying to rise up again. And Thorax is like, I want to stop her because other changelings don't want this either. They're just doing this because she's making us. Like, because we have to, because she's our ruler. We don't have any other choice. But, like, Thorax is like, I believe that we could be more if she wasn't in charge, if we didn't have to follow this leader, if we had choice, changelings would choose to be good. So they, like, overthrow Queen Chrysalis, and then Thorax becomes the new changeling king, and this is what he looks like after that.
Hell yeah.
Because friendship is fucking magic. Now he looks like a fairy prince, essentially. He's like a rainbow, sparkly fairy, fairy stag.
Holy shit.
And all of the changelings end up looking like that. Like they all get their now they look like they belong. They're no longer like black and not black, but like black rotting and decrepit. Yeah. They all have like bright colors and hues, and they all have distinctness. And they all have uniqueness and personality. They're not just a horde anymore. Yeah. And so that was like the one time where you have, hey, our one good, the one good monster friend actually extends it into, but maybe all of these monsters have the capability of choosing.
Like, we don't want to do
kindness. Yeah, maybe they don't have to be just a horde always evil.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's a whole thing. I thought was really cool. I don't know what to tell you. That's all I have at the end of that one. Later on, there's the one changeling who doesn't ever want to be with the rest because they're still holding out, but they end up like, friendship is magic, bitches. But yeah, I
want to be evil.
Yeah, so like, My Little Pony has come up a lot recently.
Oh, that's fair.
But I think it's applicable, especially in this context. For
My
the
Little
themes
Pony does have like that kind of theme too. We see it a lot. Like with adult dragons. Like, yeah, sure, we got Spike, but he's a baby dragon. But we see adult dragons come along and be like, yeah, we're like not too evil.
Yeah, we're not just dragon. We're just kind of big and cumbersome, and we set things on fire. But like, we breathe fire. We can't help it.
Yeah. So what do you want to do about it?
Yeah, that's. I'm trying to think of another Cyclops so I can get us back on, like, this episode was supposed to be about Cyclops and Polyphemus.
No, that's fair. I mean, the only other Cyclops I can think of right now is Leela, because I've been watching Futurama.
Oh, yeah, she's a Cyclops.
She is a Cyclops. And it's really interesting, because I've been... What do you got?
Oh, I was going to say, but, like, isn't it because of, like... Is it because she's from a race of Cyclops, or is it because like she just happens to have one eye because
she is a mutant?
She's a mutant.
That is spoilers. Sorry, I guess I should have said that for Futurama stuff.
Okay.
That is a spoiler. The whole time we're thinking, oh, she's an alien from a race of Cyclops. Come to find out, no, she's a mutant that had her parents are also mutants that live underneath the city because there's a whole race of mutants.
Right, yeah.
And so they sent their daughter up because she's like, out of all mutants, the most normal looking one and could pass is just an alien.
So they wanted her to have maybe
a better life.
A better life.
So they sent her up to the surface to be like, you live a better life. And so yeah. I'm like, that's a crazy twist that I wouldn't have fucking saw coming.
That's a lot.
I've heard so much shit about fucking Futurama and just being like heavy. And I'm like, I want to watch it.
Yeah, it's probably really good. I mean, not probably. Like, it'd probably be a really good watch experience, is what I meant.
Yeah.
Also, like Joe DiMaggio. The voice of Bender was the voice of Nick the dog. We're doing a lot of Adventure Time recently. I've got nothing. I've got like one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is about Cyclopses in general, and I could not like properly corroborate this with the sources, but
X-Men Cyclops.
Yeah, X-Men Cyclops who just shoots like one laser beam, and for some reason like that's
shoots laser beams from his eyes.
Laser eye. Because Laser Eye was not as cool of a name as Cyclops, but Havoc, his brother, Gazer Beam. God, I love Incredibles. Yeah, the possible origin. Where did this myth come from? What perhaps inspired the myth of like the one-eyed Cyclops? And it was the theory proposed by a paleontologist, Othenio Abel, in 1914, suggested that like maybe the fossil skulls of dwarf elements found in that area, like an extinct race of like kind of like small woolly mammoths. If you've seen the skull of an elephant, it's got one big hole in the middle where the trunk would go.
Yeah, probably.
It looks like a giant eye socket. I can't say if that's legitimate.
I would believe it. Honestly, like...
That seemed cool enough just to throw in there. It's like, here's a fun fact. One theory that scholars have for the origin of the Cyclops myth is mammoth skulls.
Mammoth skulls. I mean, and yeah, that's something that I could believe, people saying that. I mean, as we've seen, like, our theories on how dinosaurs are represented are probably not true.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, like we look at this thing, we don't really know what it looks like.
We don't know. Like, there could be a ton of feathers, as people are saying nowadays.
Feathers. They found fossilized feathers.
Yeah, there you go. And so like a bunch of feathers, or it's like...
What do they sound like?
What do they sound like? A T-Rex could be more like a hippo than a lizard, right? Where it has just a ton of fucking fat on it.
What if they purred?
Yeah, exactly.
Not like purr like a cat, but kind of had that purr sound.
Yeah. Like, and like...
That would be fucking terrifying.
Who knows? Like, if I'm an ancient dude, and I see a big fucking, like, a skull, and from the skulls that I've seen, eye sockets, but it's got a big one right where the face is supposed to go. I'm like...
Obviously, big one eye.
That was a big dude with one eye.
It's incredible. Wow.
Yeah. And I had never seen an elephant before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a big dude with an eye.
Yeah. Cool. I'm glad you like that, DJ. I almost didn't mention it, but I'm like, I think DJ will like this. I'm going to throw this in there at the end. It's just fun.
Yeah.
So, cool. That's Dave Davis. Thanks for being my monster friend.
Yeah, of course.
And a big shout out to all of our monster friends, especially our God Tier level page. Oh, we don't have to say that here because we say it in the outro.
Yeah.
Well, a big shout out to all of our monster friends, aka our dazzling, wonderful, unique listeners who bring so much to the table in all of your special ways. I know now we sound like an after-school special, but
we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening.
Yep, we'll be back on Tuesday the 26th to talk about the Golden Fleece.
The Golden Fleece, and is that the last one?
That will be. We will have one more.
Right, the recap.
Just the recap, just the whole. We're gonna do a whole episode just dedicated to the Odyssey, and DJ, that's gonna be our last episode of season 2.
Sea of Monsters last episode.
That's been
fuck me.
wild year, but like
this season was way longer than the Lightning Thief.
I think it just felt longer. I don't know if it actually was longer.
I don't know.
Hey DJ, when this episode comes out, do you know what it is?
Our birthday.
It's our broadcast birthday.
Yeah.
I'm sure we probably mentioned that in the Camp Store recording we did, but I don't know. We're recording it right now, and it's way in the past, but thinking about it being like our 1 year proper anniversary of doing the pod. Of uploading it.
Yeah, of uploading
We started
recording in September.
Yeah, but I don't know, of it being real. Of it being a real thing in the world that other people can interact with and enjoy, like our listeners.
Like you guys.
Right now.
We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. We will be back in your ears in 2 weeks.
Have a good one.
Until then, don't be like Zeus.
Don't be like Zeus.
Podcast of Poseidon is created and hosted by Darien and DJ Smartt. It's edited by Darien Smartt. The show is produced by Darien and DJ Smartt, as well as
Tim O'Connor.
The Crystal Con Man.
Our music is Athens Festival by Martin Hain, and our cover art is by Audrey Miller. You can find her on Instagram at bombshellnutshellart.
Like the show? Ready for more? Support Podcast of Poseidon on Patreon. Just $1 gets you exclusive bonus content. Find out more at patreon.com/podcastofposeidon.
Can't spare the drachmas? You can support the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcast or by sharing us with your friends. Find all of our episodes and episode transcripts at podcastofposeidon.com.
Thanks for listening.